Hey guys, so just make a few announcements while I wait for people to log in. So I've just got a couple of announcements. I'm running the 3-week online Learn to Channel course again. I've run this before. It was a real big success in the past. So that is running again. That is starting on, let's have a look, when is it? Yeah, Sunday the 18th of March. So the 3 Sunday sessions, 3 2-hour sessions, Sunday the 18th of March, 25th of March, and 1st of April at 6 p.m. UK time, GMT, although it shifts to British summertime halfway through. So I'm just going to put the link to that in the box now, if I can work out how to do so. Now we've started.
Summertime halfway through.
Oops. Hey guys, just making a few announcements and just adding some links to the chat box. Okay, so yeah, so that's the Learn to Channel course added. And also I'm hosting an event in Glastonbury, a physical event on the 17th, I believe, of, just check. How are we? Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's Saturday, the 17th of February. So that's live. It's a full one-day event in Glastonbury Town Centre. It's titled Extraterrestrial Channeling and First Contact Play Shop. So if you're interested in coming to Glastonbury to see me channel live, that is happening on 17th of February, Saturday, all day. So I'm going to put that link in my to my website now. If you go to my website and just go to events and then Glastonbury, you'll find it. And also you can find events, Learn to Channel course. I'll just put the link in the box below for you guys as well. Okay. So, hi guys. So that's a 3-week Learn to Channel course online and my upcoming event in Glastonbury. So you can come see me channel live in Glastonbury and be part of First Contact if you're interested. And that's it, and the links are both in the box below. So check those out. And of course, there's always private sessions, private channeling sessions, higher self coaching sessions, and all sorts of stuff available on my website as always, jonathancmartin.com. So, hey Taylor, hey Marcel, hey Mishari, not sure how to pronounce your name. So, I'm not seeking energy or anything, but I feel that I'm here just to be here and feel the density of both low and high energy, and I must say it's fun. Ah. Well, hopefully you'll feel more high energy today here. Hi, that's okay. We can jump right in and be blunt here. That's fine. So, yeah, so as always, post your questions if you've got any questions. And I thought while we're waiting for the questions and answers to get going, I'd talk a little bit about the event. So I think this is what everyone seems to be calling it, this big shift that's about to occur on the planet. I think a lot of people have termed it the event. And I keep getting asked by quite a bit, what is the event? When's the event going to happen? What's going to happen? These questions quite a bit, understandably. And so perhaps I'll just share my perspective of it, because I don't think anyone knows for sure how it's going to play out. But I guess one thing we do know for sure is what the event is really, ultimately. And from my perspective, the event is the shifting consciousness that we're going through. It's ultimately the shifting perspective from the idea that I am my body, my mind, to, I guess, the spiritual perspective, the understanding that we are a spiritual being. We are a being of pure consciousness, pure awareness. We are the consciousness in which this world, this reality plays out. And it's a huge shift. Because it's a massive shift in perception of who we are, why we're here, what we're here for. And it sort of answers all these questions that humanity has been seeking for a long time, like who are we? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? All these sort of answers come to us very naturally as we go through this shift of consciousness, as this event takes place on the planet, and we shift to this perception of ourselves as, I guess, the one infinite creator in form, experiencing itself as a human, but coming to realize that we are the one infinite creator in our ultimate nature. That ultimate nature is pure consciousness, pure awareness. And this is the shift. It is the shift of perspective from identification with the body, mind, organism, with Jonathan, to the realization that I'm not Jonathan. I am the infinite consciousness in which all things occur, in which this body called Jonathan is having the experience of paying bills and dancing and interacting with people over YouTube, and all the highs and lows that go with the human experience. But the shift is to the understanding, which perhaps has been called enlightenment or self-realization or ascension or awakening or spiritual transformation or expansion or becoming aligned. This is the shift, and I think it's been called like an event because it seems to be happening on a global scale. There is a global shift of consciousness. It's no longer like separated for the elite few to become enlightened or to awaken to the higher consciousness. It's now becoming available to everyone. And so from my experience of what the event and the shift of consciousness is that it is occurring now. Like I would say it is occurring now. I think anyone that's been on the spiritual path for a while and is experiencing the energetic shift we're going through at the minute will agree that we have been through an extremely intense shift. And it's almost like everyone's saying, what's the event? What's the shift? When is it going to happen? And it's sort of like happened. And this is what, and like everyone's so disoriented. It's like, it's what all this energy's come up and it's like changed everyone's lives around. People have been relocated, consciousness shifts, surrenders, like shifts in perception. It's like we've gone through this massive change. Like so many of us on this spiritual path have like had a huge purging, like towards the end of last year, around September, October time. It's like suddenly started accelerating. This consciousness started to pervade the planet, or perhaps we moved into a new consciousness in the galaxy. And at this time, we went through this huge purging, this huge shift of consciousness, like all our emotional patterns, our attachments, our fears just came to the surface really strongly. We began to attract them, reflect them back to us, like any out of alignment beliefs began to reflect back to us. So if we had like relationship issues, we were like manifesting like relationships to like process everything we need to process. And this sort of started towards September, October last year. And I've talked about this quite a few times. And it's still going on. It's like the consciousness is just rising and rising and rising. And perhaps it's never going to stop now. And we're just getting purged. And so many of us are just being forced into surrender, forced into like acceptance that this is true, this is real. The doubts are being purged out of us. And I guess it's sort of happening on depending where you are on your spiritual path is, I guess, what determines how intense and how you'll perceive this event. And I guess for those of us that have been like really intensely diving into this spiritual path for so long, this shift we're going through now is so intense and so powerful that it's so clear to us that we are going through a collective evolution of consciousness. And perhaps those who are just beginning to embrace the spiritual path, it's not so intense for. So it might not be so obvious, but you might just see that things are changing for you. Your reality is changing. New people are coming into your lives. You're experiencing new circumstances. You're setting out on a new path. You suddenly got clarity that you don't want to be doing your old job anymore. You want to be stepping out on a new path. And this is the shift. This is the event. And I think we will see like things happen in outer reality, because I've heard all sorts of things, like people are going to say there's like pillars of light going to come down from the sky, and I'm sure there'll be some UFO sightings at some point during this shift, if not a huge event to do with extraterrestrial contact, because that will be coming over the next 2 or 3 years for sure. And yeah, so it will be reflected in our outer reality, but the idea is that it's a reflection of our inner reality. The event is the shift of consciousness. There's nothing more profound in the entirety of creation than the awakening to yourself as the one infinite consciousness. It's like extraterrestrial contact, pillars of light in the sky, angels descending into the reality, everyone being given £1 million for free. This is like, perhaps may seem to like the physical mind as some event, the best thing that could ever happen, but compared to the realization that you are the one infinite creator and you are infinite consciousness and you are connected to all beings in creation and you are the infinite immortal one, nothing can compare to that realization. It's on another level entirely. So yeah, so to look to like the outer world and say, what is the event going to be? It's really the things that in the outer world are like insignificant and they're just reflections. And of course, they're going to be huge and they're going to transform this planet. But compared to the shift of consciousness, the inner transformation that we're going to go through, the actual reflection in the outer reality is almost insignificant, because it's so mind-blowing as we go through this shift into our higher perspective. So that's really my perspective on what the event is. The event is the shift of consciousness. It is the collective realization as we reach some sort of 100th monkey effect in our reality, where enough people are like riding this wave of the acceleration of consciousness that we just like flip through into an entire new perception of reality. And I guess it's the point where enough people make that shift and consciousness reaches that sort of level where, because what's happening is this wave of consciousness rising, and the people like who have been deep in the spiritual path for years, like these enlightened gurus like Muji and Adyashanti and all these people that are on the pinnacle, they like got pushed over the edge of this wave like quite a while ago, because they were like really riding the wave of this pinnacle of conscious evolution. And then there's like the people like the sincere seekers who have like just been awakening like recently. Like loads of people are going through massive awakenings to the oneness and self-realization at the minute. I'm seeing a lot of people more advanced than me, like having real intense self-realizations and coming into that understanding. Like a lot of people I know are becoming like self-realized to very high degrees lately, like way beyond where I'm at. And that's because there's this consciousness, this wave of consciousness that's like moving, and it's like everyone's sort of riding this wave, and the people that are most advanced on this wave, they're like riding this new consciousness, and it's just like pinging them into like these new levels of consciousness. And us that are a bit further down, we're like going through these crazy transformations, and we're being like pinged into this new consciousness as well. And the people a bit lower down, it's going to happen in time, but this wave is riding, and more people are like accelerating to this new level of consciousness. And so yeah, that's what's happening. The event is this wave of consciousness that's like pinging people into self-realization, pinging people into enlightenment, and on other levels, like enabling just like us mortal humans to see that, like come to see that we are infinite consciousness, have realizations of our connectedness to creation, and see that we are creating our own reality, and see that we are the pure consciousness. And just having these realizations, the event is this wave of consciousness. And at some point, I think soon, because it's accelerating so much, and so many of us that are on this spiritual path are getting challenged so intensely to drop everything, surrender, accept that we are infinite immortal beings creating our own reality, that I think some point very soon over the next few months, I mean, look to equinox, March. I mean, there's going to be a big shift as we shift into this equinox period. I think it's probably going to be a big relief for many of us. I think things are going to balance out as we shift into the summer, as we pass through the equinox period around March 21st or whenever it is this year, one of those days, 22nd, 23rd. So yes, so I'd look to this point for the event, because just from my perception of the evolution of consciousness, and seeing how consciousness is moving and how rapidly people are transforming and waking up, in my own experience, I can see that we are moving towards some sort of event horizon or threshold in the consciousness where we are going to tip over into a new reality. It's like personally for me, my any out of alignment beliefs that I'm holding on to at the minute are just becoming so painful. They're just forcibly being purged out my system. I'm just being totally cleansed and purified. And I know this is happening for a lot of you guys too. And it's very difficult and very challenging, but also we know that this is really happening, and we can see from the higher perspective that we are shifting into this higher level of consciousness. And this enables us to relax, knowing that we have done the work. This is where we're supposed to be, better going through this intense transformation and all our fears and securities about money and relationships. Better that it's all coming up now and we're on the cutting edge of this transformation than we just like lulled around in boredom and stayed in our own jobs and safety. So I think we can all give ourselves a pat on the back for coming as far as we come and putting ourselves in these deeply fearful situations where our lives are, in some senses, collapsing around us, but in other senses, being rebirthed around us, because it feels like it's collapsing. But then we look around us and say, hey, this isn't so bad. This is all right, actually. Something's supporting me. I'm getting through. Consciousness seems to be keeping me alive and keeping me abundant. And so that is the event from my perspective. It is this shift into the new. It is the shift of consciousness. The event is the conscious shift. The shift of consciousness is far more profound than anything that could ever occur in the physical reality. However, it will dramatically affect everything in the physical reality. So we will see, as a reflection of this event, which I sense is probably going to happen, something is going to happen around the equinox period. Perhaps a little after. It takes a while to into it, I don't know, but we're definitely reaching this point where it's accelerating so fast now, and people are awakening so fast that sometime that this 12 months is going to be interesting for sure. It's going to be like no other year. I feel 2018 will be like no other year, because so much is happening now. Consciousness is accelerating so fast. People are having so many realizations and breakthroughs into higher states of consciousness. But this is going to reflect in the outer reality, individually and collectively. It can only affect a conscious evolution like this cannot occur and not have a huge effect on our outer reality. So it is inevitable that this event is going to occur. It's very real. It's inevitable. I'll be highly surprised if it doesn't happen this year. It feels like it's going to happen within the next few months, because we seem to be building up to something. So yeah, look to the equinox period. I know I've heard others point to that period too, but people point to all sorts of periods. And but my sense is that we can certainly look to this spring as a transformational time. Consciousness is just accelerating, expanding at such an accelerated rate now. Everyone's having huge awakenings, huge realizations. And this is, you see this filtering down into the mainstream, into like the people that previously would have called us crazy, or like you mentioned the word UFO or ET or spirituality or Kundalini awakening, to like a regular person like a few years ago, and they just like look at you like you're literally insane. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It seems we've gone through such an evolution of consciousness that these people that used to like just look at you like you're insane, and I'm sure there's still those around, but a lot of people, certainly in my experience, they seem to be open to it. That sort of perspective of you're insane seems to have disappeared. They still like, well, I don't really believe that. It's not my thing. But there's more of an openness to it. Like, well, you know, there's the mind isn't going to some sort of shutdown, no, some sort of brainwashed shutdown. I can't deal with this, I'm hiding. They're actually like taking it into their consciousness and say, oh, that's interesting, extraterrestrials, UFOs, Kundalini. Yeah, not really my thing, but interesting perception of reality. And that's a huge shift of consciousness. That is a huge shift of consciousness. That is the breakthrough for this reality, because that is the breaking point where people are coming out of their brainwashing. We're no longer in this cultural conditioning that we've been trapped in for years and years and years of, like, not even so heavily programmed into our thought processes that we're not even able to entertain the idea of any paradigm existing outside what we've been taught at school. So we seem to have got out of that. People are open to everything. People are exploring new ideas in every way. I don't know. We just seem to have gone through some sort of collective shift where that reality where people like literally thought you were insane for like channeling extraterrestrials and perhaps they still do in some way, but it's not the same mind control that they were suffering from before. You know, the programming from the media that's triggering them and saying aliens insane. They're coming to their own realization. They're saying, well, is this guy insane? It seems a bit crazy. It's different. Something has shifted. That's the point. And so this is the event. It is a shift of consciousness primarily and foremost. And it is the shift of consciousness to the realization that we are the creators of our reality, that we are infinite immortal consciousness, that we are the eternal realm. We are the pure awareness in which all things arise. It is the shift into this meditative awareness style state. And in that, we come to the knowing that we are the creators of our own reality and we are infinite beings. And as a reflection of that, our outer reality is going to change. So I think I said everything already. You get the idea. Any questions? Let's see if we have any questions. I guess one or two, probably. Hey, Night Howler, would be nice if you talk with your audience. I do interact. I was just giving an intro. You're welcome to ask questions. Fire away questions, people. Watching TV used to be my friend to help me fall asleep. Now TV has no place in my reality. Yeah, it can be hard. Like, life was easier in the old days where we could just switch the telly on, zone out. You could almost say that ignorance is bliss. Of course, it's not. It's just the path to suffering. It doesn't work ultimately, but it almost seemed like that, didn't it? 10 years ago, when we could just have a few beers, watch telly, and forget about reality. What has happened? Yeah, no more turning on the TV as your friend to help you get to sleep, I'm afraid. The whole system is mind control. Laugh out loud. Got to have money to live a normal life. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I guess the whole system is mind control. It was yeah, because really we live in an infinite reality, and there is infinite potential of the way we can live our lives. And thousands of years ago, life was much more free for people to express in whatever way they wanted. But then sort of around a couple of thousand years ago, people sort of got together and decided we're going to create in this reality. You could say, like, the dark side decided to take control of this reality and create certain structures that will keep people locked in a little box, such as they decided, we were going to have religion here and schooling here, and we were going to have a marriage, and people were going to get married and live in houses and study in libraries and pay taxes. And this is the sort of reality we've been brought up into. Just think it's just normal. This is what life is. You're supposed to get married. You're supposed to get a job and pay taxes. You're supposed to agree with wars if your government says they're a good idea. You're supposed to go to school, put your children in school till they're 16 years old, then take them out of school, then put them in a job where they pay taxes to serve a system that pollutes the earth and destroys our forests. So, yeah, it was like 2,000 years ago, people just decided we're going to create this reality. We're going to tell everyone this is how they're supposed to live our lives. We're going to kill people and put them in jail if they don't obey it. And we're going to give them lots of incentives to make them think it's a good way to live, like the Romans, like bringing roads and good structure to our reality. So they appeared to be giving us some good stuff. So it appeared to make sense. But what happened, they were telling people you've got to live like this and like this and like this. But the idea is we live in an infinite reality. And really the idea of getting married and like putting your children in school till they're 16 and like getting a job 9 to 5 and getting a mortgage, like people sort of class this as how reality is. This is how reality is. This is the most expanded way we can live our lives at this time. This is just how it is. This is the evolution. This is the pinnacle of evolution. We are the most evolved society in consciousness, and it can't get better than this. And we went on believing this for years. But now what we're starting to realize is that this is just a reality that has, in a sense, been imprinted on us. This is what I sometimes call the false matrix, because it's like our whole reality, because our beliefs create our reality. And if collectively, the idea is if collectively none of us believed in gravity, it wouldn't exist, because we're collectively creating our reality. So if everyone on the planet believed that gravity wouldn't exist, it wouldn't exist and we could all fly. So just to give you an example of how we collectively co-create our reality, what the collective believes is true. And so if we hadn't had all these beliefs impregnated on us that you need to get a job to survive, you need to pay bills to survive, you need to get married to be happy, if we hadn't had all these situations impregnated into us for thousands of years, and we'd evolved in our own way without a controlling structure trying to dominate and control us, we could have gone anywhere. We could be flying around the planet now. We could have had collective realizations that we can fly. We could be instantaneously manifesting golden palaces. And so we're perhaps some way off this, but just as an example, just to sort of explore the idea of how the system is control, the system is mind control. And yeah, TV, media, watching sports programs, celebrities, like telling us that the way to be happy is to like work for the Illuminati and earn £10 billion a year, dancing and wearing skimpy clothes. So anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about, but got to have money to live a normal life, lol. Well, the theory is we don't. Well, to live a normal life, we do. But if you want to live outside the box, the theory is if we believe it, it would happen. But I still like money. It's a very convenient way to live in this reality. One of the questioners, he says, you don't mean a literal event, though, right? With regards to me talking about the event that's happening, the shift of consciousness. And I do. I think it will occur as a literal event, but I don't know if it's going to be like someday there'll be like 1,000 meteorites shining through the skies and like angels descending from heaven and like pillars in the sky. But who knows? There might be something similar to that. But how I feel it's I Yeah, you're correct. What I'm saying is that it's not going to be the important part is that it's not a physical event. It's an inward shifting consciousness. It's the realization of our true nature, which is a profound event. But this will reflect in our outer reality, because our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality. And if we go through a collective evolution of consciousness and some collective self-realization, where perhaps some sort of 100th monkey effect, where enough people on the planet ride this wave of the evolution of consciousness into a new level of consciousness and a new realization of who and what they are, at some point this is going to have a dramatic effect, like a 100th monkey style effect on the collective consciousness. And there's going to be a collective shift in perception, and it's happening already. There is a huge collective shift in perception already, like I was saying, with people being more open to the idea of ET contact, aliens, Kundalini, all these bizarre topics that were before crazy. They're now interesting. Bizarre, maybe not my thing, but this shift of consciousness is happening rapidly already, and it's heading towards some sort of, perhaps, I don't know if event horizon is the word, some sort of crescendo, some sort of threshold where it can only, there's so many people waking up, like it's going to have a reflection energetically in the outer world. It's going to cause it can only cause a big reflection, in my opinion, some big shift like in the outer world. So I think it will be a little event as well, because the collective consciousness shifting so drastically will cause a huge shift, a huge reflection to be reflected in the outer reality as a reflection of our inner transformation. So I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens, like pillars of light and angels and aliens all appearing, or orbs of light in the sky, or I wouldn't be surprised if something happens like this as a reflection of our inner state of consciousness, because we are, after all, infinite beings and with infinite possibilities. So, but the transformation has to happen internally first to reflect outwardly. And people have to come to the realization, it has to come to a collective realization, a collective belief that these things can happen, because our beliefs create our reality. So when it comes to the point that enough people within the collective believe that we can create a reality with balls, spheres in the sky, and pillars of light descending, and angels singing in the stratosphere, and UFOs, when enough people come to the realization inwardly that this is true, it will reflect outwardly. So, and we seem to be coming to that point. Like I say, there's a big shift occurring. So I think it will. So yeah, you're right. I don't mean a literal event. I think primarily it's going to be an internal transformation, a self-realization on a collective level, of some level, of the true nature of our consciousness. But this will reflect in an outward event as well, I believe, just from my perspective. Yeah, sure. Just like 20 years ago, 19, etc., etc. Yeah, exactly. 2012, 2000. Yeah, these events are supposed to happen many times before, and they haven't. Like the last one was 2012. Everyone expected to be fair, 2012 played out exactly like Bashar said it would. So I didn't really buy into any of these big events. But Bashar described 2012 as the tipping point where the collective consciousness on Earth collectively shifted from overall negatively oriented to overall positively oriented. And that doesn't mean there were 50% of the population positively oriented on the Earth, but it means but positive energy accumulates, it like accelerates like exponentially. So it only takes like 10% of the population to be positively oriented to create an energetic balance of 50% positive on the Earth, because positive energy is cumulative. So, and that was 2012. We shifted from the scales tipped in 2012 from slightly overall negatively balanced to slightly overall positively balanced, and that was very clear to me that was the case, and because it has accelerated a great deal since then. So we're well into the light now. So yeah, and my personal perception is that it won't be any, but who knows? I don't know. I don't want to limit my reality. But don't be disappointed if you only realize the one infinite creator in form, because you won't be anyway. But it's about doing the inner work. We've all got to do this work. Like I say, it's this wave of consciousness that's rising, and we're all at different points on this wave. And if you're at the top, you're going to experience this event in a very dramatic fashion. But if you're down here, you're just going to be sort of like, whoa, something's changed. So, but you've got to do the work, do your own spiritual work to ride higher up the wave. And you'll see more clearly what the event really is. Did you feel the massive shift yesterday was quite intense? Yeah, sure. All weekend felt for me. I feel like a super intense shift over the weekend. Generally, yeah, I definitely felt it. I was wondering if anyone else noticed. Seems we've been through a huge shift the last couple of days. I thought we were to have guides and mentors. That's what Sheldon Needle said like a decade ago. Yeah, I used to follow Sheldon Needle a bit. Like I say, his I don't know. I stopped reading because, like, a lot of stuff he predicted didn't really manifest. Yeah, I mean, the guides and mentors are here. It's there's some idea of like ascended masters coming down to earth and saying, I am your guide and mentor. And I'm not sure it's happening quite like that, but on some dimensional level, your guides and mentors are here if you can open your eyes to see them. If you want your guides and mentors to appear, they are here waiting for you, whether they're in other dimensions and speak to you through telepathy and dream time and channeling, or in physical reality. There's an old saying in Eastern tradition, something like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So if you're looking for a guru, a guide, or something, just put it out there and they will appear. That's the easiest thing to manifest. It's really easy to manifest a guru because consciousness wants you to have a guide, a teacher. So there's really nothing holding you back, unless you've got some desperation to find a teacher, and then you might block it. But today things feel newer. Yesterday was a massive shedding, it felt like. Yeah, I mean, we've been through a huge shift the last few days. I guess we're all going to experience it slightly differently at what stage we integrate it. I think I'm still integrating it, to be honest. It was massive for me. Can you channel a reptilian, a friendly one? Possibly, but not now. Ask me again, firstborn. I'm not really in channeling mode at the minute, but I'd be interested to try and channel a friendly reptilian. There's a Treb that Rob Gauthier channels. Check that out if you're not aware of him. Rob Gauthier channels a friendly reptilian called Treb. I think Treb's a reptilian. Soon the media won't be able to keep up. It already can't. Even those who run the media are shifting. Yeah, it's I'm not really up to date with the mainstream media, but yeah, they can't hold up this facade for much longer, that's for sure. And they're not really. It's like you say, it's already shifting. What about 5G towers? Are we going to have to attack them? 5G versus humanity. The EMF apocalypse is coming. I've not heard that conspiracy. I mean, of course, the electromagnetic energy that's all around us is not good. I mean, I like work online all day, and I need to get away from it. But I don't think it's as bad as like what they're all making out. Look, I was looking forward to 5G. I think it's going to be epic, like having all these high speeds everywhere. Who knows? Stay positive. Our beliefs create our reality. In my reality, 5G is going to be epic, and the EMF isn't really going to be a huge issue. Just need to get away from it as much as possible. You know what I mean? Just don't keep saturated in all the time. Like take time out in nature and stuff. Unplug when you need to. Will the Yahyel expect anything of us should we ever meet? What do they like to drink? As far as I know, they don't drink or eat very often. They don't need to, but they still do a little, as I understand it. I have heard one before that the Yahyel said, one thing we can do to so it's interesting you asked that, because they said there's one thing we can do to tune our energy to theirs more, and is we can like energize, like Reiki, or purify our water before we drink it. The Yahyel recommends that before we drink water, we balance out the frequency of it. So rather than just buying like a bottle from the shop, like this, they recommend that rather than just buying it and drinking it, they recommend we buy it and we purify it. We like do Reiki or like healing energy on it. We just hold our hands around it with pure intent and like visualize positive energy flowing from our body into the water, from our hands into the water, and visualize the water being purified and balanced. And I don't do this, but I think I'm going to do it. All of a sudden it feels really powerful, because like it literally if you've ever seen those experiments by that guy called, there's some Japanese guy called Emoto or someone, and he does experiments with water where he got people to like meditate on sending love energy to water, and they also got people to meditate on sending hate energy to water. I think it was water, might be nice. And he looked at the molecular structure under a microscope afterwards, and he actually saw that the molecular structure, like in the water that had been sent love, it all had these beautiful crystalline structures, and in the water that had been sent hate energy, it was all distorted and messed up in the crystalline structure. So that's probably really powerful. So it's something really beneficial to do. So I'm going to start doing that. A lot of people, you see it here in Glastonbury in the cafes, a lot of people like do this around their food. They're all like around their food and water before they eat it, and it's probably a good thing, because it's going to pick up all sorts of energetic patterns from where it was grown, from who's cooked it, and it's a good idea just to harmonize it with our own frequency before we ingest it. So that way we're perhaps not ingesting all these unbalanced energies from other people. So I'm going to try and remember to do that with my water more. So yeah, so the Yahyel recommends we purify our water with our own energy. Orgone can help with EMF pollution, worth researching. Yeah, there's some of it in this house. I used to make it when I was younger, and the landlady or landlord who own this house have left some bits. So maybe that's why they use it, because how to get rid of blocks hindering abundance? Good question. Something I'm working on myself at the minute. I'll get back to you. No, I mean, it's really just looking at those beliefs, just seeing what comes up as we like for myself, like as I focus on manifesting money and visualizing money, it'll bring up fears in me, like fears of not having enough money to pay the bills, fears of getting into awkward interactions with people that I owe the money to, perhaps more powerful than the actual fear of not paying, fear that it won't work, fear that I'm a failure and I won't be able to manifest. Like, notice what comes up as you visualize yourself manifesting the money. Your mind will come in and try and block it. You'll say, I'm very happy because I know that £1 million is coming to me in 1 year. Well, I'm not hugely into these sort of £1 million manifesting, so I'm more into the path of trusting our reality to support us in our excitement, and it will. This is what the Yael share, and this is what has worked for me so far. But it's all reality. I'm sure they can work, and of course they do work for a lot of people. So when you're doing these exercises and holding these visualizations and holding in your consciousness this idea of abundance and being supported in your reality, notice what beliefs come up. Because you'll say, I am in bliss, I'm very happy because I know £1 million is coming into my reality, as an example. I'm not a big fan of like manifesting £1 million because you've got to work with your belief systems and do it a step at a time. But just as an example, I'm in bliss because I know £1 million is coming into my reality. I'm fine, I'm okay. And when you have that thought, it'll normally trigger a fear, because the part of you that doesn't believe it will come to the surface. Or say, this doesn't work, I don't believe this. So therefore, if that belief comes up, you know instantly you've got a belief that is in contradiction to. So if you've got a belief that suddenly comes up and says, I don't believe this is real, then that's obviously a belief you've got to look at initially straight away. Because if you've got a belief that says, I don't believe this is real, then your beliefs create your reality, so it's not going to work. Or if a belief comes up that you start focusing on £1 million, and it's or you suddenly your subconscious fears about paying your bills that have been in your subconscious, but because you suddenly start thinking about money, they come to your conscious, worrying about paying your bills. Notice that you're worrying about not having enough money. So then again, that's the vibration you're putting out. So you're going to attract back to yourself more of not having enough money. Notice anything like this that comes up. So you're trusting you in this visualization of having £1 million, and you suddenly start getting downloads and inspirations that you can attract this money by starting up an interview channel on YouTube where you're going to channel all the most famous spiritual teachers. And like, this is the download you get after doing the manifestation visions. This is a sign from the higher self. This is the step you need to do to get in alignment with yourself, to create more abundance with your life. But as that comes up, you suddenly have like fears coming up. What will people think of me? Or my parents will disown me. Or I can't do that. What happens if I get in a negative situation with these people interviewing me? You just got to notice what comes up within yourself as you begin to get into this consciousness of manifesting. Notice what contradictory beliefs come up when you're in that state. And they're those things, they're the beliefs that you need to redefine, realign, and bring them back into a positive alignment. So you can manifest what you prefer. And is there a common etiquette we should know about in advance? I presume you're talking about with regards to first contact. I mean, for sure, yeah. Yes and no, because I don't think we have to act in any particular way. Like, we don't have to do like three handshakes and then bow our head and then lay down on the floor in prostration, then go up and dance a jig or something. I don't think they won't expect anything of us like that. But we've got to learn to meet them on their consciousness. They live on a level of pure love, pure light, pure divinity. And, from this perspective, you don't like swear at people or put them down or point a gun at them and threaten them. You know what I mean? We're here to meet them in love and light, in the divinity of the highest creators. So we just have to really come to our point within ourselves of pure love, pure acceptance, pure unconditional love for all beings in creation. I think this is really a prerequisite for first contact, that we have to have come to the realization within ourselves, or at least be fairly well grounded in a state of unconditional love for all beings in creation. I'm sure they will forgive us the odd blip. They understand we're still evolving, but I feel we need to meet them on their level of unconditional love for all beings in creation, including ourselves. And I feel that is the main prerequisite. That is the main etiquette for first contact. And when we're in that place of unconditional love for all of creation, including ourselves and all beings, we naturally come into a very high vibration, polite, harmonious, serene interaction with all beings we come into contact with. So that would be the main etiquette pointer I would give. Lately, I can only remember the feel of my dreams and how vivid they appeared, but have not been able to recall the details. Dreams are symbolic, so I kind of feeling like missing an important resource. Yeah, I'm not an expert on dreams. I've never really done dream work that much, but it might be worth researching someone who's into dream work. Like I know a lot of people recommend journaling, like the minute you wake up. Like have a notepad and pen or a dictaphone next to your bed so you can write down or record straight away you wake up, because you remember much more clearly just as you wake up and then they fade. So I know people who are into dream work always have a notepad or a dictaphone right near their bed. So whenever they've had a dream, they wake up, they record it. And so this is really powerful. But yeah, I think I know people think dream work is very important. I know David Wilcock, the conspiracy guy, and the cosmic disclosure guy, works with Corey Good. He was he's always been really into dream work because he was sort of a big spiritual teacher as he started off at, and sort of got more into the conspiracy side. And he used to do a lot of dream work. He's a big expert on dream work. Yeah, so maybe look up someone who's knows a lot about dream work. If you're drawn to that, if that's your resonance, to explore the idea of dream work, and perhaps look into lucid dreaming as well. I know it can be very painful. I know people who've evolved very rapidly through doing dream work. Someone talking about the event. I see it as an ongoing slow event, but event is ongoing or soon shall be her. In a way, yes, but it's accelerating exponentially, it seems. So I guess with an exponential acceleration, it has to reach some sort of 0 point or event horizon at some point. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it was a slow event anymore. In a way, you could say it is, but I would say it's extremely rapidly shifting. Will we be able to have greater psychic skills? Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely. In fact, I actually noticed about a week ago, I seem to go through an opening. My third eye opened up more. My clairvoyance opened up more about a week ago. And I noticed other people seem to have similar experiences just about a week or so ago. Last week sometime, we seemed to, several people, many people, well, a few people that I spoke to suddenly seem to have an increase in channeling ability or clairvoyance, ability to see images. I'm interested to hear feedback from you guys, actually, if you experienced anything like this last week, an apparent increase in psychic abilities. So yeah, for sure, we are going to experience an increase in psychic abilities. That's happening all the time. Yeah, that is a big side effect of the awakening of consciousness. Yeah, definitely. And it seems to be happening now. So video on my channel of me moving a pyramid on my ceiling with my mind. I'd be interested to see that that video, Firstborn. Maybe send me a link to it. Greetings. Can marijuana help us get into the channeling state? In my experience, it actually blocks me from channeling generally. It somehow seems, for me to be in the channeling state, I need to be highly energized. I need to have a lot of energy moving through my body, and marijuana tends to like lower me, like pull me into like a heavy energy where I find it, where I go into like relaxation. I just want to go, bruh. And I'm not really able to get that high kundalini or high prana energy moving in the same way. So I would say it's harder to channel. However, if you do use like marijuana very rarely, if you use it all the time, it like just turns you into a zombie. But if you use it like once a year or once every few months or something, it can be quite powerful spiritually. It can like relax your beliefs and open you up to higher layers of consciousness. And you can get very powerful downloads in these experiences. So used infrequently, like very occasionally, like once every few months or something, to give ourselves a spiritual insight into deeper layers of our consciousness. It can perhaps enable us to open up to those layers of consciousness, open up to deeper layers of ourselves. But to actually enter the channeling state, in my perspective, it seems to be much harder on marijuana. It seems to just like lower my energy to a point I can't really get my chi flowing, my energy's flowing if I smoke marijuana. So it generally blocks me, but it can, like I say, if used occasionally, open us up to higher levels of consciousness and get big downloads that can open us up to these abilities. So yes and no. Marcel Lucas, what's the spiritual work? Good question. So I think he's referring to Marcel. I think that's a male name. Could be female. I'm not sure. Could be either, I think. Yeah. So Marcel, whether you are male or female, what is the spiritual work? I think they're referring to, when I was talking about the event and how this event is occurring, we're going through this realization of consciousness, but we've got to do the work. We can't just like put our feet up, watch telly, drink beer, and expect that this event is going to evolve us into a higher state of consciousness. We need to do the work. We need to, by the work, what I would call the work is following our highest excitement, because our highest excitement is the guidance of our higher self, and it will always guide us down the path of whatever spiritual journey is most relevant for us, whatever experiences we need to do. So we might get excited to take up meditation. We might get excited to go to an ashram and start doing self-inquiry. We might get excited to take up yoga, or we might simply get excited to become a channel, or we might simply get excited to start rock climbing and like free soloing on mountains. But the point is, it's always our shortest path to our own spirit, to everything we desire. So it always points us down the path of what we need. So if we desire to awaken spiritually, truly from a deep place in our being, by following our highest excitement, it will always guide us to those paths that is the spiritual work we need to do to go through this evolution of consciousness. That is the event. So by spiritual work, I tend to talk about practices such as like meditation, self-inquiry, channeling, any spiritual path really, using tarot cards, Reiki, it's all exploring our journey. It's all, and as we follow our excitement and explore these ideas such as Reiki, meditation, crystals, tarot cards, self-inquiry, channeling, extraterrestrial contact. As we follow our excitement and do whichever of these things excites us the most, we're exploring deeper layers of our own consciousness. And this is really what I mean by doing the spiritual work. It's really any spiritual practice is spiritual work. Any practice, no matter how crazy and fluffy and perhaps stuff that I wouldn't recommend if you really want to go deeply and rapidly into this, it's all going to have some effect on you, even just sort of, just running your regular life and just praying to the angels every day, and say, angels, look after me, thank you. And I might call that a bit sort of fluffy, not really doing the work, but it is going to help you no matter what you're doing. Just connecting into angelic consciousness is going to accelerate you on some levels. So yeah, so just any spiritual path, really. Follow your excitement. It will lead you where you need to go. Hi, Manifested Muse. Thanks, you could make it. I have been irritable, and patience sometimes stretches thin, but the big event is a big event. It's a matter of perception and capacity. I guess it's scary sometimes. Yeah, and excuse me. Oh, excuse me. So, yeah, it's really good. Well, when we're waiting for this event to happen, it's like it's sort of never going to happen, because we have to realize the consciousness in ourselves before we see it reflected externally. And I think, in a way, all of us have to come to the realization that nothing's going to happen in the outer reality before it actually will, because we have to be okay with what is already in our reality before we can start to manifest a greater reality. We have to come to a state of acceptance in ourselves. We have to come to see the divine within ourselves and see that everything is perfect already before it can manifest in the outer reality. So when you're waiting for something to manifest in the outer reality, is in a sense never going to happen. So if you're waiting for the event to occur, you're probably going to shift to a reality where the event never occurs. So you've got to sort of come to the realization that the event is you. You are the event, you are the shift, and you've got to shift internally by doing the spiritual work, through following your excitement, through self-inquiry, through meditation, through whatever it takes to take you through the shift into the perception of yourself as a self-realized being, seeing yourself as the consciousness, the pure awareness that pervades all things and is before everything. Yeah, that's it. It's a guy saying, now that you mention it, I wasn't exactly open to mentors before. Yeah, that's it, because you create your own reality. You don't want a mentor, so you don't create it. Your higher self isn't going to bring you a mentor if you don't want one, because you're just going to ignore them. But if you want one, if you're open to it, they will appear. And there's some very amazing beings on this reality that can guide you into higher states of consciousness. If you do want a mentor or a guide, other than myself, someone like extremely self-realized, like some of the highest consciousness beings on earth, all you have to do is put it out there to your higher self and trust that they will come, and they will come into your reality. And it might not be clear how self-realized and how high consciousness they are when they first appear, but just trust the synchronicity. If someone appears in your reality and they appear to be quite wise and you're sort of resonating with them, I suggest you explore them, because that might be your higher self bringing you a mentor or a guide. What are your thoughts on quantum computing and its potential? Do you think it's somehow tied to alien contact? Quantum computing, obviously, I don't know anything about quantum computing. I'm probably not the best person to ask this by any standards. Well, I'm definitely not, because I know virtually nothing about it. But I did research it a little bit, and it does look fascinating. And it's fascinating just from the perspective that it proves that reality is nothing like we thought it was. Because if a bit can be on and off simultaneously, that defies the laws of Newtonian physics, and that proves that we don't live in a Newtonian world, and there is something more. So it's very powerful in the fact that it points to the idea that we create our own reality, that the parallel realities exist, and objects can be in two places at once. And yeah, I'm sure quantum computing is going to accelerate this reality rapidly. I think it's in its beginning stages, and we don't really understand what it can do or how we can use it. It can only be used for some very basic things, as I understand at the minute. It can't be used for normal computing tasks, but it can be very powerful for some things. But I'm sure as we explore this idea and come to, I mean, potentially it can create something incredible, can't it? If bits can be both on and on simultaneously. Anyways, do you think it's somehow tied to alien contact? Possibly, yes, because artificial intelligence is tied to alien contact, because the UFOs that the Yari and the Yael and Sasani and Yael and other civilizations fly in are artificial intelligence. They are true artificial intelligence. You know, they are sentient, they're conscious. And Bashar says that artificial intelligence will be the birthing of higher self in form. So when we actually achieve higher intelligence, it will actually be a manifestation of our higher selves. So from this perspective, perhaps quantum computing is related to extraterrestrial contact, and it's all related, it's all connected, it's all an evolution of consciousness. It will be. Thank you for doing these live videos. Always amazing info given. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, Josie girl. I appreciate your appreciation. Channeling is first contact. Yeah, for sure. This is one of ways they initiate first contact. Definitely increased synchronicities last week. Yeah, increased synchronicity is a sign of we're going through this event. It's going to be more and more synchronicity to the point where it's just like normal, like all day long at some point. Good question. There's many categories. Controlling emotions seems the hardest thing to do, especially lately. Yeah, for sure, because this is all our stuff coming up. Yeah, all our stuff's coming to the surface, so emotions will be all over the place. It's an opportunity of looking at the beliefs connected to the emotions and seeing that ultimately they're not true, because they're often evolved with like relationships and fear of rejection and fear we're not good enough and things like this. But as we come to see that we're like infinite, immortal, intrinsically perfect aspects of creation, and like unconditional love is our birthright, we naturally transcend all these out of alignment beliefs. I'm not good enough, worrying about what people think of us, and So yeah, it's all about looking at the nature of reality and the truth of our being and redefining our beliefs to come back into alignment with that perspective as ourselves as infinite immortal beings who are intrinsically perfect like all aspects of creation and infinitely deserving of all the infinite love in creation, as all aspects of creation are deserving of all the infinite love in creation, because infinite love is the nature of creation. Be sure to vaporize marijuana and not smoke it with tobacco. The tobacco has toxins that block certain effects. Yeah, it's probably good advice. I only use it very rarely, so I might try and vaporize it if I do again in the future. I think it's probably a good idea. The first time I did it, like a few months ago for the first time in ages, first time in years, and it was through a vaporizer, and it was a lot better. So I think you're right. Did the Yahyel have AI? Yes, as I understand it, their ships are artificially intelligent manifestations of their higher self, I think. I maybe need to check in. But yeah, they have AI, as I understand it. Several people under hypnosis describe the event as a wave of energy that will affect every being on Earth simultaneously, and that this will happen in the first quarter of 2018. Yes, it's happening now, in my opinion. That's exactly what's happening, and it's happening right now. Specifically, just this weekend, it's like it was so intense this weekend. The sky was crazy, like the sun was so bright here. So I think the people on the hypnosis were right, because I think it's happening now, Dana. Okay, so I think we have about reached the end of the questions. So I think we'll call it there for today, guys. So it's been a great session again. See you same time next week. Have a wonderful day. Shivai.